First, of course, is Mario, who will be played by Chris Pratt. He's so cool.
Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animated movies not made by Disney. I'm your host, Octaviano, and today, after a short break, I'm still not talking about animated movies. Well, not specifically animated movie. I'm just talking about a thing that happens with animated movies, especially more often now. At least people say it happens more often now. I know this is old news at this point, but I figured, you know what? The topic is still something that I feel needs to be discussed. Celebrity voices. Of course, if you've been online for a while, you know there was a big uproar when it was announced that Illumination, the company behind like the Minions movies, we're doing a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now, that's been known for a while, but what hasn't been really known is who would be the voices for the main characters. At a certain point, it was pretty much, maybe it's going to be Charles Martinet, maybe not. I know that at some point, Martinet mentioned that, hey, he wasn't apparently contacted to do the voice of Mario like he normally does for the games. So it was like, okay, what's going on? And then Nintendo dropped a bombshell in, I believe it was their last Nintendo Direct that they did for the year. I mean, I know there was one that they did for indie games, but like just a regular Nintendo Direct. Yeah, that was the big bombshell. Yeah, Chris Pratt playing Mario, Jack Black as Bowser. You had Charlie Day as Luigi. You know, it was a bunch of big names. And people, of course, did not handle it so well. And things got worse when it was announced that on top of doing Mario, Chris Pratt would be doing Garfield. Which, I mean, at first I thought it was kind of weird, but then I was like, you know, Chris Pratt has done some voice work before, if you've seen, of course, like the Lego movies. You know, he was also in Onward, and, you know, he was pretty good in those. And I'm like, well, you know, Chris Pratt's specialty really seems to be slacker characters who think they're above everyone else, or, you know, they're like the cool slacker character or whatever. That's kind of Garfield. I mean, I guess, you know, he would have to tone it down, make him more sarcastic, not really mean-spirited, but, you know, to a degree, like, you know, like more careless about other people, more selfish, which I'm like, you know, I could kind of see him working. I don't know if it'd necessarily be a great performance, but I could kind of see it working with that, more so than Mario. Like, with Mario, that's the one where I'm like, I don't know. I even now, after all these months, like, the only thing that has kind of swayed me on that idea is just that Illumination, even though I don't really tend to like their movies, I gotta give them props that when it comes to their celebrity voices, they actually do get people who can do pretty good voices. Like, you know, they do get people and, you know, get them to do, you know, like silly character voices that, you know, actually fit their characters. Like Steve Carell as Gru, you know, it's not just Steve Carell just talking like Steve Carell. It's Steve Carell doing this accent and this character performance. Matthew McConaughey as the little koala first thing. You know, it doesn't just sound like Matthew McConaughey. Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch. You know, it didn't just sound like Benedict Cumberbatch. It was actual, you know, voices being done by these celebrities. So I was like, maybe it might work. Maybe. And, you know, well, it's not the ideal performance. Going back to the Lego movie, Chris Pratt's performance as Emmett feels a bit Mario-esque, like, you know, like that naive, kind of curious character. You know, it sounds like something that would fit Mario to an extent. I don't know. I really don't know. Honestly, my bigger issue when it comes to curing the word Super Mario Bros. From Illumination is that it's Illumination. You know, like, I don't want to be mean to anyone. I really don't. But their movies are not so great. Like, you know, there are some studios that, you know, of course, try to please audiences more than others. And for them, most of their movies feel like, yeah, we're just trying to check off a bunch of, like, you know, things on a list just to say, hey, this is what people want. This is what kids want. This is what parents think are okay. There you go. I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, their movies, you know, from what I've seen, are normally just okay-ish, but it's why, even though I know people hated on the Emoji Movie, which, you know, I do agree, it is a bad movie, but I'm like, nah, man, it's still not even the worst animated movie that was out around that time. I mean, comparatively, I thought the Secret Life Pets, which I saw like about, I want to say like a month or so beforehand, or maybe not even that far, that around that time. But I know it was basically like, something that I had seen around that time. I honestly thought was worse because it was like, at least the Emoji Movie has a story. This thing is just characters doing random stuff, and there's an idea of a plot, but it goes nowhere. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the company. I mean, I hope they turn around. I hope they do some stuff that shows like, okay, they're serious about what they're doing, and I hope, if anything, maybe Nintendo kind of convinces them, because if there's one thing like I was kind of joking about when this cast was announced, was like, look, this movie has to be good. Like, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Mario fan. I'm not saying that because, like, oh, I'm in some kind of, delusion or whatever. Like, no. As in, knowing how Nintendo is, this movie has to be good to an extent. Like, it doesn't have to be great, but it has to work at least pretty well. Because if this thing tarnishes Mario's, brand name in any way, I think that's going to screw over Universal in terms of the whole plans that they have for like doing like the Super Nintendo park or whatever that they're doing in their theme parks. So it's like, yeah, I think this really has to be good. Again, it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be, life changing, but it at least has to be a quality product. But that's me rambling on about Mario and all this stuff. Realistically, my bigger topic was like, the big complaint on that was like, oh, celebrity voice actors. Why are they getting celebrity voice actors? Oh, why don't you just get regular voice actors? Hollywood is bad for that. And I'm like, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I don't mind celebrity voices. Like, don't get me wrong. If you ask me, hey, for this animated project, would you rather get voice actors or celebrities to come in and do the voices? I would choose the voice actors. I think, voice actors need the recognition, and if anything, considering how many, big names have come out of other places, whether it be music, sports, stuff that normally you wouldn't consider to be, associated with movies, and yet, they become big names, like, hey, we'll sell this movie on LeBron James. It's a little weird that we've never tried elevating voice actors to that status where, like, hey, look, we're going to sell this movie based on Tara Strong's in it. And, it's kind of weird. Like, one of the things that I did like about the show Loki was that when it came to the Miss Minutes character, they didn't just treat her as an aside. Like, when it came to the credits, they actually were like, okay, and we got Tara Strong to be Miss Minutes. It's pretty neat that they're actually, putting it up front instead of just hiding her name in between, like, with, like, extras or whatever, stuff like that, because that's normally what happens with a lot of these things. Like, I remember when the Ratchet and Clank movie came out, it's like, oh, look, they actually got the voice actors from the games to be the characters. And then when you watch the credits, they buried the two main characters behind pretty much all the other, big name celebrities, which I was like, why? They're the main characters. I don't know. It is something that, I do agree with. They really should elevate their voices. And, yeah, it sucks that a lot of these studios only focus on getting the big names. That being said, to the degree that people were hating on big names, like, not even just on the Mario movie, just in general, I've always kind of found it annoying, more so now than ever, because it's kind of like, look, like, I remember someone mentioning, like, oh, well, this has never been a thing up until, like, Aladdin, and prior to that, at most, it was just certain character actors who would come in to lend their voices, or TV actors, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but they were still selling it on those people. It was still like, hey, look, Transformers the movie, we got Leonard Nimoy in it, we got Orson Welles. Hey, look, for Ichabod and Mr. Toad, even the original poster mentioned, like, that they had, like, Bing Crosby. So it's not like it's never been around. It's not something, like, yeah, of course, I understand to an extent that, yes, there's more emphasis now on it than there was back then, but not to the degree that people make it look like it was non-existent prior to Aladdin. And even then, I'm like, who cares? I mean, yes, I understand there are some bad celebrity voices, but there's a lot of them that I think, especially now as, this has become the norm, so to speak, that I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of really good ones that I can't see anyone voicing. Like, I can't see anyone else doing Shrek the way Mike Myers did. I can't see anyone else doing Donkey the way Eddie Murphy did. I mean, you have, the people who could do, like, the imitations, but it's never the same feeling. Of course, Robin Williams, we did see that with Genie being voiced by Dan Castellaneta, who's a great voice actor, but in the role of Genie, not so much. Which is the other thing, is that sometimes even the voice actors you get might not even be right for the roles. I think a lot of it comes down to, realistically, whether or not, one, the person fits the role, or two, just like the direction that they're given when it comes to voicing these characters. Because sometimes, from what I see, is like, yeah, this person was not given the best direction. Because you see some of those cheap movies, like the straight-to-video stuff, where they might get, like, some lower, lesser-known celebrities on there, but they also do have, like, voice actors on it. You'll notice, like, okay, they have some voice actors, that's neat, but even the voicing on it feels off. And this is coming from people who normally do this for a living. So, yeah, it sometimes isn't even the fault of the person who's doing the voice. It's sometimes the fault of the directions they're given or the material they're having to work with. So I don't know if that's entirely fair to pin it all on celebrity voices, because, like, going with the Mario thing, like, okay, yeah, I agree, Chris Pratt, Mario, weird choice. Granted, maybe he works, maybe not. I know a lot of the hate came from, like, the hate that Chris Pratt already has, which I won't go into too much detail on that. I get where some people are coming from, and I understand the betrayal that some people feel on it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, but a lot of the stuff that people tend to, attack him for feels more like assumption than what he's actually done. And I get it, it's because, the church he goes to or whatever, but it's like, yeah, but, if he hasn't actually done those things, like, because we've seen celebrities who, have ruined their careers doing awful things, and they actually do those things, and we've yet to see that from Pratt, so, I don't know, I feel like it's a little unfair. I get the idea of why, some people would feel it's a bit problematic, but I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like that stuff is overblown on him. Not a hard defense on him, just saying, like, he is a talented actor. I haven't really seen anything that makes me fully say, like, okay, yeah, he's a horrible person. Stuff that's questionable, I will agree that, but then I'm like, okay, people are, throwing in, like, okay, well, you got Jack Black as Bowser, and I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but that's a great choice. Like, have you seen Jack Black when he does, well, of course, he's great at music, and, he's done some great voice work with, like, Kung Fu Panda. And if you didn't see the Goosebumps movie, the first one, the second one wasn't so good, but, he still does good work on that one, too. But the first one was like, what, it's a really fun movie, and Jack Black kills it doing the voice of Slappy the Dummy, because he also does, he appears as R.L. Stein on film, but he actually does the voice of the dummy character, Slappy. And it's a great evil voice. It's like, oh man, like, if this guy was tapped to do the Joker, I could probably see him doing a really good Joker. So I could see with, him doing something with that and his Poe the Panda energy, kind of merged together to make, like, a pretty good Bowser. So, that's actually a good choice. Charlie Day as Luigi, I don't know why anyone would feel bothered by that. Charlie Day feels perfect for that role, given everything we've seen Charlie Day do. Luigi, come on, just look at the character. Even Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, like, that was one where I was like, okay, at first I was like, that's a bit weird, but then again, Donkey Kong is kind of a laid-back, kind of simple-minded character, so I'm like, yeah, I could see this. I mean, it'll be a little weird, but I could see it, the energy being there if, given the potential. And like I said, with Illumination, even though I have a lot of issues with them, if there was one thing I will give them credit for, is that when it comes to the celebrity voices they get, they actually do manage to do pretty good character voices on them, even if it's not too far removed from their regular voices. They do pretty good voices, so I can't diss them on that. But even just going beyond that, like, I know, like, the most common comparison that people had regarding celebrity voices to this was the Scoob animated feature, which I understand why people were mad at the fact that they didn't get like the voices of the Scooby Gang, aside from Scooby, within the movie. I understand that. I mean, I definitely would have preferred them to do that. But again, I feel the hate is a little overblown because every time they bring up like the problem with the celebrity voices, which I will admit, when it comes to like the Mystery Gang, Zac Efron as Fred, shoot, I'm forgetting Daphne and Velma as the actresses, but even with them, it was kind of like, I mean, with Velma more so because it's like Velma has a very distinct voice, so just getting any person to do it without even attempting to do that kind of, nerdy, kind of nasally voice, like not too over the top, but like to an extent. I mean, come on. It's like getting, some random person to just do Marge Simpson. You kind of want that, nasally voice. Like, you gotta attempt it a little bit. Even if it's not exactly the same, I understand, you do your own interpretation. You gotta have some effect of that for it to work. Or at least something that makes it feel like, okay, that's right, even if it's not the exact same. But I'd see a lot of complaints about Will Forte as Shaggy, and I'm like, okay, that's the weirdest one because Will Forte is not even. I mean, no disrespect to Will Forte, he's a great actor. I've loved him, and Clone High, MacGruber. He's a really fun actor. But I would not consider him a big name celebrity. Like if you're using that whole argument of like, oh, character actors or TV actors, I'm like, he's kind of right on that level. Again, no disrespect on him. He's talented, but why are we treating him like he's some super rich celebrity? I mean, even more so considering, like, look, I understand if you didn't like his Shaggy, I thought it was fine. Not the greatest voice version of that voice, but it was fine. But it's like, okay, but he's doing a character voice, so why are we treating it like it's bad? And it's, I don't know, it just feels like some hypocrisy is on it right there, especially considering, like, hey, look, technically the current voice of Shaggy, Matthew Lillard, of course, a lot of people know that he was the live action Shaggy, and he was a pretty big name around the time that was coming out. So it's like, yeah, it feels like you're kind of being picky and choosy on this. I don't know how to say it, but point is, like, I don't know. I get it. I do prefer getting voice actors. I'm not saying that they shouldn't focus on getting voice actors. I want them to elevate voice actors into better roles. But I also don't think it's the end of the world to have celebrity voice actors. And I get why they do it, just like with any movie, like, hey, look, we want to sell it, on our big names. I just think that, hey, maybe we should try to elevate voice actors so that we could do the same thing. Maybe we could be like, hey, look, it's Joe DiMaggio in this movie. That would be pretty cool, I think. Instead of going off on, oh, well, they shouldn't have celebrity voice actors at all, or something like that. Like, sometimes they work, sometimes it's not good, but I've seen it, especially in more recent years, that they've been pretty consistent. Disney, Pixar, they're pretty consistent most of the time. DreamWorks, I can't really think of one where it was that bad for the most part. A lot of them have been pretty great so far, even on the movies that I didn't really like. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it as long as they put in the effort, put in, the direction on it. As long as they get actors that are willing to actually commit to the role, I think it's fine. I remember a while back, someone tried, taking like an out of context clip from The Boss Baby 2, which is not a cinematic grade. It's fine. To trash it regarding like the whole celebrity voice actor, because you have Jeff Goldblum as the villain and look at this performance he's giving. And it's like, well, okay, but you're taking an out of context clip, especially considering that the performance that you're lambasting here is, pretty much what the character's supposed to be acting like throughout the movie. And I get it, that's not maybe ideal for you, but it is like, well, that is the character, so I don't have an issue. And even then, if it, I don't know, like, even if if it's just that one bit where it's like, which I agree was kind of weird looking at it, but then again, out of context, it's one of those things where like, okay, yeah, but anyone can mess up it, like in one or two scenes. I mean, we've seen that with, even live action movies or with great actors on roles and whatnot, where it's like there might be a scene where it's like, okay, they weren't bringing in their A game on that. I mean, that happens. So I don't know. I just feel like that's way too. I don't know. I don't want to say ignorant, but it is kind of like, yeah, but you're not making a great argument over why this is bad. I don't think, but I don't know. That's all I really wanted to say. I hope I can do a movie next week for you guys. It's kind of a weird time right now with the holidays and everything. By the time you watch this is gonna be past the holidays. I know that. But, yeah, I just thought, maybe this was something I wanted to do, talk about holiday, talk about voice actors, the whole celebrity thing, which my stance is, actual voice actors, celebrity voice actors, all fine. It all really depends on how they're utilized, how they're implemented, and, of course, the direction they're given. It's, all that stuff. It's more than just, the famous voice is bad, and the veteran voice actor is the only way to do it. Especially considering that oftentimes whenever people bring that up, they only bring up like 5 or 6 different voice actors, and it's like, come on, guys, there's a lot more than that, and we should at least try to widen the pool on that too by finding new voice actors. The way some movies sometimes find like unknown actors for big roles, just because one, it's easier to lock them into multiple roles and multiple movies, but 2, they're confident that the character they're playing as will sell the movie more than their how known their actor is, which it happens. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So thank you for listening. This has been Octaviano, host of I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. That's Psychem Films. I also have a Patreon, which supporting that helps support the show, whether it's by equipment, promotions, just anything. Right now, getting on the Patreon is just going to get your name on the credits of these videos. But I do hope that over time I can add more to this, get merch, make more videos, beyond just the podcast, just different stuff. So just, do consider supporting me for that if you enjoyed this. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.
Please look forward to Mario as performed by the very talented Chris Sun.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Comment below if you had any thoughts on this. And if you want to support me even more, there's always the option of Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. Patreon would be a great way to help me grow this channel, as it's a great way to get equipment, a great way to let me know what you guys like, and it's a great way to help me financially. Just saying, the more I have on Patreon, the more time I'll have for these videos. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.